Imagine this, a calm, quiet cafe in a bustling city square where life seems to be moving at its usual pace. The clink of coffee cups, the chatter of friends, and the occasional sound of a spoon stirring a cup of tea. People sit at their tables, lost in their own thoughts, absorbed in their books or catching up with loved ones. The air is filled with the warm aroma of freshly brewed coffee, a comforting mix of caffeine and baked goods. It feels like just another day in the city, a place where nothing particularly exciting is happening. But as with most things in life, that's when the unexpected arrives. The sound of a door opening cuts through the noise, followed by the unmistakable click of boots on the floor. A man enters the cafe, and there's something different about him. He's dressed in all black, a leather jacket that seems to scream rebellion, paired with tight jeans and a pair of dark sunglasses. His walk is confident, almost too confident, as if he's the star of a show no one else knows about. He stands out in a crowd, drawing the attention of several people in the room. A few customers glance up, briefly wondering who this guy is. His face is full of mischief, a wide smirk dancing on his lips. It's the kind of expression that makes you uneasy because you know something's about to happen, but you're not sure what. He's carrying a teapot in his hand, and as he surveys the room, his eyes lock onto something, or rather, someone. At a small table by the window there sits a young girl, probably no older than 10. She's alone, enjoying a quiet moment with a book in her lap, oblivious to the world around her. She has her head down, absorbed in the pages of her story, and she's not even aware of the stranger who's entered the room. The biker, his smirk never leaving his face, steps closer to her table. He pauses for just a moment, as if sizing her up, making sure she's the perfect target. The tension in the room seems to shift, and everyone watches as the man approaches with the teapot still in his hand. His intentions are clear, and they're far from innocent. He's about to make a scene, and the girl, unfortunately, is going to be the center of it. In one swift motion, he raises the teapot high above his head. The steam from the boiling tea escapes in wisps, creating a cloud of vapor around his hand. Without a second thought, he tips the pot over, sending a stream of scalding tea pouring toward the unsuspecting girl. The hot liquid hits her face and she lets out a piercing scream. The sound echoes through the cafe, drawing gasps from the other customers. The girl is in shock, her hands instinctively reaching up to wipe the tea from her eyes, her face burning with the heat of the liquid. The biker steps back, still grinning, as the girl struggles to regain her composure. The cafe goes completely still. Every single person stops what they're doing. There's a split second of silence as people process what just happened. Some people look in horror while others seem unsure of how to react. The girl, tears welling up in her eyes, is still trying to make sense of what just happened. She's shaken, confused, and obviously in pain. But the man who poured the tea, far from showing any regret, is still standing there, enjoying the chaos he's created. And then, in the midst of this tension-filled moment, something happens that no one could have expected. There's a man sitting at a table near the back of the cafe. He had been quietly sipping his coffee, completely unaware of the scene that was about to unfold. But as soon as he hears the girl's scream, his head jerks up, his eyes scanning the room to locate the source of the disturbance. It only takes a second for him to understand what's going on. And his reaction? Calm, controlled, unbelievably collected. It's none other than Keanu Reeves. Yes, that's right. Keanu Reeves, the Hollywood star known for his roles in The Matrix, John Wick, and countless other iconic films. But here's the twist. He's not acting. He's not in character. He's just a regular person in a cafe who's witnessed an incredibly unusual situation. Keanu's eyes lock on the biker, who is still grinning, seemingly unaware of the impact of his actions. Keanu doesn't jump into action right away. He doesn't rush over to confront the man or make a scene. Instead, he sits there for a moment, watching the chaos unfold with a level of calm that seems almost otherworldly. It's clear that Keanu, much like the rest of the cafe goers, is shocked by what he's seeing. But unlike the others, he doesn't panic. He doesn't jump out of his seat, he just watches. His composure is so striking that it begins to affect the people around him. There's a subtle shift in the atmosphere. People seem to be waiting for him to do something. The biker, still oblivious to the fact that he's made a major mistake, continues his antics. But now his behavior seems less funny and more reckless. As the silence stretches, Keanu stands up, his movements slow but purposeful. The room seems to hold its breath as everyone wonders what will happen next. Will the biker continue his prank? Will someone step in to stop him? And that's when the true power of Keanu's presence reveals itself. Keanu walks toward the girl, kneels down beside her and checks if she's okay. He doesn't speak loudly or make a dramatic gesture. He simply comforts her with his presence. His calm demeanor seems to have an almost magical effect. Slowly, the tension in the room begins to ease and the chaotic energy starts to shift. The biker, noticing the subtle change, finally begins to feel the weight of what he's done. The situation, which started as a joke, has suddenly turned serious. As the biker looks around and realizes that everyone, including Keanu, is staring at him, his grin fades. His bravado starts to crumble. The laughter that once echoed in the room is replaced with uncomfortable silence. The realization hits him. This isn't just a random prank. This is a public act that's gone too far. And just like that, the biker's attitude changes. He mumbles an apology to the girl, but it's clear that his confidence has vanished. With a few awkward steps, he exits the cafe, leaving behind a stunned group of people in a much calmer atmosphere. The girl, now comforted by Keanu, is safe, though she'll surely remember this bizarre encounter for the rest of her life. For everyone else in the room, this moment will go down as a story they'll never forget. It was a chaotic, bizarre, and unexpected turn of events. But in the end, it was a reminder that even in the most shocking and uncomfortable situations, calm and composure can make all the difference. As the biker pours the tea, the girl's shrill screams fill the air, and the entire cafe is frozen in shock. The once charming sounds of clinking coffee cups, soft chatter, and the gentle hum of the city outside are completely drowned out by the horror unfolding in front of them. Every person in the room stops in their tracks. The sounds of the girl's terrified cry echo through the space as the hot tea splashes across her face, drenching her and sending a wave of heat over her skin. The room is in utter chaos, yet it feels as though time has slowed down. People stare, some in disbelief, others in horror, unsure of what to do or how to react. The biker stands there grinning, clearly enjoying the distress he's causing. He laughs to himself, his hands still, gripping the teapot as if he's just pulled off the ultimate prank. The girl is crying now, hands fumbling to wipe the scalding tea off her face, her eyes wide in confusion and pain. Her lips tremble as she tries to make sense of what just happened. This wasn't some harmless joke. It was a violent act of mischief. But just as the tension in the cafe reaches its peak, something unexpected happens. Amid the chaos, a man sitting quietly at the back of the cafe begins to stir. His chair creaks ever so slightly as he shifts his weight, his eyes already scanning the room with a calmness that seems completely out of place in such a volatile moment. He's not panicking, nor is he scrambling to intervene in the commotion. He doesn't jump up like a superhero rushing to the rescue. Instead, he simply stands up slowly, his face a picture of quiet concentration. And then it hits you. This man, calm and composed, is none other than Keanu Reeves. Yes, the Keanu Reeves. The one we've all seen play the calm, collected characters in The Matrix and John Wick. The same Keanu who has built a reputation not just for his acting, but for his grounded nature and humble demeanor off-screen. But in this moment, there's no camera, no director, no script. There's only a real man witnessing a scene of violence unfold in front of him. And yet, there's no rush to jump in or intervene immediately. Keanu stands there for a brief moment, his posture relaxed, his eyes focused, observing the entire situation. It's clear he's processing everything happening before him. Unlike others in the cafe who seem rattled, or at the very least stunned into inaction, Keanu remains unwavering. His calm presence seems almost out of place, but it's exactly what the chaotic scene needs. He isn't just an actor in this moment. He's a person, just like everyone else, and for the first time in this room, you get the sense that things are about to shift in a way no one expected. The biker, still unaware of the subtle shift in the air, continues to laugh. He's convinced he's pulled off the perfect stunt, his grin spreading even wider as he watches the girl struggle to compose herself. For him, it's all fun and games. He's the center of attention now, and it seems like nothing can stop him. But then, Keanu makes a slight move. He doesn't charge at the biker, nor does he shout or make a scene. Instead, he begins walking toward the girl who is still trying to wipe away the tea from her eyes, now realizing the gravity of the situation. Keanu's approach is measured, deliberate. His steps are slow, almost methodical, as if he's making sure not to escalate the situation. He reaches the girl, kneels down beside her, and gently places a hand on her shoulder. His calm demeanor doesn't falter as he looks into her eyes, a silent reassurance flowing from him. In that moment, you can almost feel the entire room take a collective breath. There's something powerful about the way Keanu simply exists in this moment. He's not rushing in to be a hero in the traditional sense, not calling for help or making a big scene. His quiet strength is enough to change the entire atmosphere of the room. People begin to notice the shift, and the tension in the air starts to loosen. The once frantic, chaotic energy begins to melt away as Keanu silently communicates his presence, not through words, but through his unwavering calm. Keanu's focus remains entirely on the girl. He doesn't give the biker the satisfaction of a reaction. In fact, he seems to ignore him entirely, almost as if the biker doesn't even deserve the space in Keanu's mind. The biker, still standing there with the teapot in hand, begins to sense the change in the air. He was in control before, enjoying the chaos he had caused. But now, something's different. There's a strange power in Keanu's silence, something that makes the biker's confidence start to crack. The laughter fades from the biker's face as he realizes that the room has shifted its attention from him to the girl, and to the quiet strength of the man standing next to her. The biker's smirk falters, and as he looks around, he realizes that people are no longer looking at him with amusement. Their eyes are on Keanu, and it's clear that Keanu is the one in charge now. Not through force or loud words, but simply through his calm and collected presence. The biker hesitates, uncertainty creeping into his demeanor as he looks at Keanu, then back at the others in the cafe. The game he thought he was playing no longer feels like a game. The laughter he thought would echo in the room now sounds hollow, and then, just as quickly as it all started, the biker's attitude completely shifts. His grin fades, and with a muttered apology to the girl, he slowly retreats, leaving the cafe. The moment is over. The tension dissipates and the quiet returns to the room. Keanu remains standing by the girl's side, still calm, still composed. The girl, though still shaken, finds comfort in his presence, and with a nod of appreciation, she looks up at him, grateful for his silent support. Keanu returns to his seat, his mission accomplished. He hasn't been the loud hero in this story. He's been the quiet one, the steady force that quietly pushed the chaos into submission. And as for the biker, he leaves with his tail between his legs, having learned that not all battles are won with power or aggression. Sometimes it's the quiet strength of a calm presence that can change everything. As the situation escalates, Keanu Reeves doesn't jump into action like a superhero or start yelling. His calm and collected nature is immediately evident as he watches the chaos unfold. The biker is still grinning, seemingly oblivious to the seriousness of the situation. He taunts the girl, now visibly distressed as hot tea drips from her face and onto her clothes. Her hands frantically wipe away the scalding liquid, but the shock on her face is undeniable. The entire cafe has fallen into an uncomfortable silence, everyone frozen in place, unsure of how to react to this unexpected outburst. Keanu, however, remains still. His face is stoic, his expression unchanged. There is no panic, no visible sign of distress, just quiet control. His presence is commanding without him saying a word. People around him begin to notice the stark contrast between his calm demeanor and the chaos surrounding him. The room feels like it's caught in a tug-of-war between rising tension and Keanu's unwavering composure. And in this strange, quiet space, the atmosphere starts to shift. Slowly but surely, Keanu's calmness begins to seep into the others. As the biker continues to laugh and taunt the girl, there's an unmistakable energy in the room that begins to change. The once chaotic energy, full of disbelief and discomfort, starts to settle into something else, something more controlled. The biker's loud, mocking laughter begins to sound more out of place. It's as though his actions, once entertaining, in his mind are beginning to lose their effect on the crowd. The attention shifts from the girl, who is still in shock, to Keanu, whose calm demeanor is starting to take center stage. Some customers, who had been too stunned to move or speak, begin to murmur amongst themselves. They look at each other, sharing nervous glances, but their eyes are always drawn back to Keanu. It's almost as if they're waiting for him to do something. Anything. They know that this situation has already gone too far, and they look to Keanu for guidance. His silence, his stillness is like a beacon in the storm of noise and confusion around him. It's clear that the room is waiting for him to make the next move, and yet he remains composed, letting the tension build in a way that is almost palpable. Others, realizing the significance of the moment, begin to take out their phones. They start recording, knowing this may be one of those rare, once-in-a-lifetime events. It's not every day that a situation like this unfolds, and it's even rarer to see someone like Keanu Reeves, not just a celebrity, but a symbol of cool, calm, and collected energy, holding his ground in the midst of it all. The room is filled with a sense of anticipation. Everyone is curious to see what will happen next. Will Keanu step in? Will the biker back off? Or will things escalate even further? Keanu, ever the professional, shows no sign of rushing into action. He remains seated at his table, his coffee cup still in front of him. His posture is relaxed, yet there's an undeniable alertness in his eyes. It's as if he's watching, waiting, and understanding something that the others might not. He knows instinctively that the biker's outburst is a reaction to something far bigger, something that can only be addressed when the time is right. His calmness isn't just an act of composure, it's an intelligent, deliberate choice. Keanu isn't fazed by the biker's antics because he knows that when someone is determined to make a scene, sometimes the best thing to do is to let them play out their hand. The biker's actions are impulsive, driven by the need for attention, but Keanu sees through it all. He doesn't need to be the center of attention. He understands that often the most powerful response to aggression is to stand your ground, quietly, with unwavering strength. As the moments tick by, the biker's confidence begins to waver. His laughter falters and his eyes flicker around the room, noticing the change in the atmosphere. People are no longer focused on him, and the girl, though still in shock, is starting to regain a semblance of control. Keanu's presence has shifted the energy in the cafe, and the biker can sense that the crowd is no longer with him. There's a weight to the room now, a heavy silence that no longer feels uncomfortable but rather like a slow-burning tension, waiting for the inevitable conclusion. It's almost as if Keanu has given the biker just enough rope to hang himself with. The biker's bravado is no longer working in his favor. His taunts feel weaker, less convincing, and the laughter that once echoed in the cafe now sounds hollow. The power dynamic in the room has shifted, and Keanu's influence is undeniable. People are starting to move from feeling awkward and uncomfortable to feeling empowered by the simple, quiet strength that Keanu exudes. The change is subtle, but it's there, and it's as though the biker himself can feel it. He looks around the room again, his grin slowly fading. The attention is no longer on him, but on the girl, who is starting to regain her composure, and on Keanu, whose calm presence has redefined the atmosphere. The tension in the room, which had been building with each passing second, finally reaches its peak. The biker's face shifts from confidence to uncertainty as he begins to realize that he's lost control of the situation. He thought he could get away with humiliating the girl, but he hadn't accounted for the calm presence of Keanu Reeves. At this point, the biker knows that the game has changed. He looks back at Keanu, but there's no confrontation, no words exchanged, just a quiet moment of realization. The biker's laughter dies down completely, and in the silence he starts to back off, retreating from the scene. The girl, though still shaken, now has a moment of reprieve. Keanu's quiet strength has proven more powerful than any loud, impulsive act of aggression. Keanu stays seated, calm and composed, never drawing attention to himself, never demanding the spotlight. His actions, or rather his lack of them, have spoken louder than any words could have. The cafe, which was once filled with tension and unease, is now calm again. The girl is safe, and the biker has learned in the most public way possible that sometimes it's not the loudest person in the room who commands the most respect. It's the one who stays silent, cool and collected in the face of chaos. Now the scene takes a dramatic turn. The biker, still convinced he has the upper hand, continues to relish in the chaos he's created. His grin remains wide, and his eyes sparkle with the thrill of watching the girl's distress. He believes he's in control, that his antics have turned the entire cafe into his stage where all eyes are on him. In his mind, he is the star of the show. His laughter rings out, bold and confident, as he taunts the girl who's still recovering from the hot tea that has soaked her face and clothes. But what he doesn't realize is that the situation is about to shift in a way he could never have predicted. Keanu Reeves, seated quietly in the background, remains calm and composed. His gaze, steady and unwavering, follows the unfolding scene, but he doesn't take any immediate action. He simply watches. His silence, though, is a force in itself. While the biker basks in the aftermath of his outburst, something in the room begins to change. The presence of Keanu Reeves, the quiet strength that radiates from him, seems to signal that this isn't just some random act of chaos. There's more at play here. His calmness is a subtle power, and it sets the stage for what's coming next. The cafe staff, up until now mere witnesses to the madness, are beginning to realize that they can no longer stand by and let this situation escalate. One of the staff members, a young man wearing a black apron, notices the shift in the atmosphere. The tension in the room is palpable, and he understands that the situation is reaching its breaking point. He's been watching Keanu's calm response and recognizes that this isn't the kind of scene that can be ignored. In a move that no one saw coming, the staff member steps forward. His approach is deliberate, not rushed, and his voice, when he speaks, is calm, almost like a soft command. He walks directly toward the biker, his eyes meeting the biker's with a quiet firmness. With a steady voice, he says, "It's time for you to leave." The words are simple, yet they carry weight. The biker, caught off guard, freezes for a moment. He wasn't expecting this. He turns to look at the staff member, then back at the room, as if seeking validation from the crowd. But what he finds is not the attention he's been basking in. What he finds are dozens of eyes all silently watching him. The laughter that once echoed from him fades away. The noise of the cafe seems to dull as the focus shifts entirely to him. For the first time, the biker feels the full weight of the room's attention, and it's not the kind of attention he expected. Keanu remains seated, his expression unchanged, but his presence is heavy, like a quiet storm gathering in the background. The biker, who moments ago thought he was the one in control, begins to feel the shift. The eyes of the entire cafe are now on him, and Keanu's quiet strength is a constant reminder that something more is happening, something he didn't anticipate. The staff member, unwavering, stands his ground, waiting for the biker to respond. The tension in the room becomes almost unbearable. There's a brief pause, a moment where the biker seems to be weighing his options. His bravado, once so loud and confident, starts to crack. His mind races, trying to find a way out of this situation, trying to hold on to the power he thought he had. But then, in the silence, the reality sets in. This is no longer his show. There, biker looks around the room once more. The murmurs that had begun earlier grow louder now, the cafe's patrons whispering to each other, their eyes still locked on him. There's no laughing anymore, no applause for his antics. The weight of the moment is too much for him to ignore. He's not the center of attention anymore. Instead, it's the girl still recovering from the attack, and the quiet, composed figure of Keanu Reeves, whose mere presence has shifted the energy of the entire room. The biker's bravado begins to fade. The confident grin he wore just moments. Ego starts to slip from his face, replaced by a hint of uncertainty. His smile becomes a nervous twitch and his eyes dart around the room, looking for an escape. He's starting to realize that he's been outmaneuvered in the most subtle way. It's a powerful moment. A man who thought he was in control, now questioning his position as the tables turn. Keanu's silence, his presence, has been enough to unnerve him. It's as if the biker's world has suddenly become small, and he's trapped in a room full of people who are silently waiting for him to make the right choice. The biker shifts uncomfortably, the weight of the room's judgment hanging heavy on him. It's not just the staff member's request that's making him hesitate now. It's the collective energy of everyone around him. Keanu's calmness has given the room a sense of unity, a shared understanding that this behavior won't be tolerated. And the biker for the first time is fully aware of that. He looks at the girl again, her face still flushed with the heat of the tea, her expression a mix of shock and relief. He looks at the staff member, who stands there with unwavering resolve. Then finally he looks at Keanu, whose gaze is steady but firm, as though silently urging him to make the right choice. The biker's smile fades completely. His confidence is gone, replaced by a moment of vulnerability. The crowd watches in anticipation as he begins to back off. The biker mutters a low, barely audible apology, though it's unclear whether he's apologizing to the girl, to the staff, or to the room at large. He doesn't say much, just a few words that are more to himself than anyone else, and then, with his shoulders slumped, he turns and exits the cafe. As he leaves, the tension that had filled the room evaporates. The silence is broken by a collective exhale, as if everyone had been holding their breath, waiting for this moment to pass. The girl, though still shaken, begins to calm down, her body relaxing as the danger subsides. Keanu, ever the silent observer, nods briefly to the girl, acknowledging her strength in the face of such an unexpected act of aggression. He doesn't need to say anything. His actions, and his ability to stay calm when everything around him was falling apart, have spoken louder than words could ever convey. The biker, having faced the consequences of his impulsive actions, walks out of the cafe, his head down. His earlier bravado is gone, replaced by a lesson he never expected to learn in this public confrontation. For him, it's clear now. The loudest and most aggressive person doesn't always win. Sometimes it's the quiet strength of those around you that can change everything. Keanu stays seated, watching the aftermath unfold. His job is done, and as he quietly sips his coffee, the room begins to return to normal. The situation that could have escalated into something far worse is over, and it's clear to everyone in the room that in the face of chaos, composure, and quiet strength are the most powerful forces of all. Once the biker leaves, the tension in the room lifts, and it's as though everyone takes a collective breath. The air that had been thick with unease and uncertainty now feels lighter, like the weight of the moment has been lifted. The chaos that had unfolded so quickly fades into a strange but welcome silence. It's almost as if the cafe, once on the verge of complete chaos, is slowly finding its rhythm again. The noise of the bustling city outside seems to fade into the background, replaced by the hum of soft conversations and the clinking of coffee cups. The girl, still shaken from the terrifying experience, is comforted by the staff and a few patrons who had witnessed the ordeal. Her face is flushed, a mix of the scalding tea that had burned her skin and the shock of the whole situation. Her hands still tremble slightly as she wipes away the remnants of the tea. But she's safe now. The honor staff, having seen what happened, make sure to tend to her, offering water, wiping her face, and speaking to her in soothing tones. They're careful not to overwhelm her, giving her the space she needs to process what just happened. The other patrons, who had been silent and motionless just moments ago, are now returning to their own conversations. But there's an underlying feeling in the room, a sense of camaraderie, a shared understanding that something powerful just took place, even if it wasn't spoken aloud. Everyone, from the baristas to the customers, is aware that they've just witnessed something far bigger than a simple outburst. It wasn't just about the biker's mischief. Nor was it even about the girl's ordeal. It was about the calm, the poise, and the quiet strength that had restored order in a moment of chaos. In the midst of all this, Keanu Reeves, ever the humble person he is, doesn't make a big deal out of what just happened. He doesn't draw attention to himself, nor does he linger to bask in any sort of hero status. As soon as the biker exits, Keanu looks at the girl, his expression soft, and gives her a small, reassuring nod. It's the kind of gesture that says more than words ever could. It's a silent acknowledgement that everything will be okay now. Keanu doesn't need to say anything to her. His presence has already been enough. The quiet strength he displayed in that moment is what gave the room the courage to hold steady, even when things seemed to be spinning out of control. Then, as if nothing out of the ordinary had happened, Keanu simply returns to his seat. His movements are calm and deliberate, and he picks up his coffee cup once again, resuming his moment of solitude as if the biker's interruption had never occurred. There's no dramatic pause, no grand gesture. It's as if he's just a regular person going about his day, but for everyone in the room it's anything but ordinary. Keanu's composed reaction, his steady calm, is exactly what the situation needed. For the rest of the cafe goers, though, this is a moment they'll never forget. The room feels different now. The air is lighter, but the weight of what happened still lingers. The girl, though still visibly shaken, is now breathing more easily, comforted by the staff and the others around her. And as she looks toward Keanu, she can't help but feel a sense of gratitude for the calm presence he provided in a moment when everything else seemed to be spiraling. In that brief encounter, Keanu had done what no one else could. He had brought a sense of peace to a chaotic and distressing situation. The girl, though too stunned to express it fully, knows that Keanu wasn't just a celebrity in that moment. He was a beacon of calm in a storm of chaos. He hadn't rushed to intervene in a dramatic action movie way, and he hadn't made a spectacle of himself. Instead, he had simply been there, his calm demeanor offering a silent but strong presence that allowed the chaos to settle. And in the midst of a crowd of strangers, that quiet strength was all she needed. As for Keanu, he continues to be the person we all know him to be, cool, collected, and unwavering in his support for what's right, even in the most unusual circumstances. He didn't need to take the spotlight or make a grand gesture. He simply let the situation unfold, knowing that sometimes the most effective way to handle a chaotic moment is with poise and silence. His actions spoke volumes, not just in what he did, but in what he didn't do. He didn't try to fix everything with loud actions or words. He simply let his calm presence set the tone for the room. And so the scene ends, leaving everyone in the cafe with a single thought. Never underestimate the power of calm in the midst of chaos. It's easy to get swept up in the noise, to think that the loudest and most aggressive person is the one in control. But in moments like this, we see that true power comes not from forcing the situation, but from allowing it to unfold with grace and composure. Keanu, by doing nothing more than staying calm, had become the anchor that held everything together. As the patrons slowly return to their normal routines, they can't help but reflect on what they've just witnessed. For some, it's a lesson in how to stay composed in the face of unexpected challenges. For others, it's a reminder that sometimes the quietest voices are the most powerful. The girl, though still processing what happened, will likely carry with her a lesson in how to stand strong even when things seem out of control. And the rest of the cafe goers, they'll remember this moment as a time when calmness, quiet, unassuming, and unwavering, was what made all the difference. In a world full of noise, it's easy to forget how powerful silence can be. But in that cafe, in that moment, Keanu Reeves reminded everyone that calmness isn't weakness, it's strength. And it's a strength that can change everything, even in the most unexpected of situations.